Hi. Oh my word. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience today. I know our guest is right here, and you are welcome to the second day of Family Life Summit. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all. Please join. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Family Life Summit 2022. Haley, welcome.
Hey everybody.
Hi, Haley.
How are you doing?
Hi, Haley.
Can you hear me now?
Can you
How
see
is
me?
everybody?
Hi, Haley.
Can you hear me now?
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. We seem to be frozen somewhere. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm wondering what's going on. Um, I'm sure all our slides and stuff are all light is on. Okay, let's try this one more time. Hi, Haley. Okay,
Hi, can you hear me now?
nice. Hi, Haley.
Yeah.
Now I can hear you
There
and I
we
can see you.
go.
Thank you. Hi, Haley. Thank you for being here. Everybody needs to know who you are. I'm so excited. Thanks, Haley. You're always here. Thank you. Thank you for being such a star. You're welcome. We had somebody online. Wait. I'm confident that more and more will join us tonight as we start. So, welcome. Welcome. You
Thank
know
you.
my life, you know how things are going. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to be here. All right. So Haley, would you like to just introduce yourself to, people who don't know who you are and just say hi and welcome. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Paula. Yeah, so as you can hear, my name is Hayley, and I am a mom to two teenage children who keep me on my toes. And then beyond that, I am a protective behaviors practitioner, master trainer. And then I run my own business doing safeguarding. So I do a lot of work in safeguarding in churches, in schools, and then in the sports fraternity as well. So it keeps
Wow.
expanding, which is quite an exciting space to be. But yeah, so we get to work in very interesting and difficult spaces at the best of times. Probably most
Absolutely. Wow.
parent.
Right, I know, right? I know. Tell me about it. Awesome. So I'm just glad you're here. And so Haley, you do such an important job. And I think even though it's a little relaxed, I know that on a good day you have your slides and you have all the things running. What should I tag this? Should I tag this teaching your children about sex? What do you think?
Oh, maybe tough conversations. I think that's the big one is looking at the tough conversations we need to have with our kids and in our families so that we can equip them for life that is today.
I like that. Tough conversations with uh family or kids, children, family. Okay, family. All right. In fact, so Haley, let's jump right into it. Okay, let's jump right into it because I feel like many parents that I've come across are very nervous about talking about sex.
But well, if you think
And
about it, when you grew up, how many people, well, how did you learn about sex?
mm, that's true. Who taught me about sex? Actually, that's a good question.
Yeah, most of us can't answer that question. We kind of figured it out, or we found out through friends or through books that parent left on a bed, or all of those things. And so I think modern parents haven't been adequately equipped in how to have these conversations. Where it wasn't modeled for us. So much of other aspects of parenting have been modeled over the generations. But having
Mm,
conversations around sex and sexuality has certainly not been modeled for most people. And I think if we look at
Mm,
the church hasn't even spoken about these things, which makes it really
you
uncomfortable because
you can
what
say
do
that
we say as
again.
Christians? Yeah, this is the
Mm,
unspoken topic. It's dirty, it's all of these things. And so why do we talk about it? How do we talk about it? And I think a lot of parents are afraid of kind of triggering a curiosity that is not age relevant. What they don't realize is that the kids are born as sexual beings, and the curiosity is there whether we trigger it or not. And unfortunately, it's being triggered more and more in society because of what our kids are being
yeah,
exposed to, the early sexualization of children and the exploitation online.
it's scary though. Don't you find it scary?
I think when my kids were younger, yes, I found it scary. And again, it was how do I equip myself to be a parent that can have these conversations? I think the older we get, the more I work in the space, the less scary it is. And I've realized that the more open we are with our children, the more willing we are to have the conversations with our children, the the easier it actually becomes. Where I had an example with my own kids in the last couple of weeks where at youth, the youth pastor asked me if I would come and speak to the youth around sex because my daughter had suggested I would be the right person to come and speak to their youth. Because, she said, Mom, you've got the right attitude
Wow.
and things like that. Now, when the youth pastor first asked me, I said, no, I don't think my child would appreciate it if I come and speak in front of all her friends about this. And when I said to her, oh, your youth pastor asked me to do this, she said, well, I suggested you because we'd rather have you than someone else. Um, so for me, those open conversations early created the opportunity to then have a broader influence in terms of the conversations that are happening. And a realization from our own kids that we really can talk about anything, no matter what it is, and they don't need to be afraid or ashamed or any of that kind of stuff because this is an adult that they trust to have these conversations, and even when it is an uncomfortable or difficult conversation.
So, Haley, how do I talk to my children about this?
So, well, I think the biggest thing is it's not a once-off sit down and have a talk about the birds and the bees. For most of us, we were actually pretty traumatized when our parents did that. Because there's this anticipation and this build-up, and it becomes the scary thing that we're going to do. And the parents are just as scared as the kids, if not more scared. So for me, it's really about using everyday moments to create opportunities to talk about our bodies and consent and autonomy and safe touch and unsafe touch and naming body parts properly, which can be very uncomfortable for many, many, many people. So it's really using right from when our kids are little, as far as even asking permission to change a nappy, naming the body parts when we're washing them. All of those things start to open the conversations around sexual education. Kids are naturally
Right.
curious. They're looking at something or they ask questions to answer the question they're asking. I can remember walking through a shopping center and a pregnant lady walking past, and the question was, how did the baby get inside her tummy? What am I going to say? We're
Hmm.
certainly not going to
So,
answer
kids
this
are
question. How we
naturally
get
curious.
when we get home, let's have this conversation and then following through
Haley, I
with
think we're
it.
losing you a bit. Sorry, Haley. I think we're losing you a bit.
Okay. Where did you last hear me?
Okay.
Am I
I
back?
think we're losing Haley.
Let's see. Can you hear me
Um,
now?
Haley, we lost you. We lost you for a moment there.
Okay. So am I back now?
Um, let's see what's going on. Okay. Are you good? Hi,
I am.
Haley.
I am. I can see you.
Okay, I think the internet. I'm not sure on whose side.
Let me check. I see we've lost Bolanle. I'm not sure if everybody else can hear and see us and see me. But maybe while we're waiting for Bolanle to come back is to for you as an adult or as a parent who's working with children, or maybe as a parent who has your own children, just to journal and reflect and think about your experiences of conversations around sex and sexuality and what you believe in and what you think. Can you hear me now? There we
Yes.
go. Okay, so I carried on and just said I encourage
Thank
parents
you.
to actually make notes, to journal what their experience of conversations around sex and sexuality was. You know, what do they believe in? What do they feel about sex? What is their response in their mind and in their body when they think about these things? And to recognize that our kids will also learn to respond in the same way if that's what we model to them. So if we casually and calmly, even though we're hyperventilating behind the scenes, have these conversations with our kids, they learn to be more relaxed about being able to answer and ask the questions. I think it's really, really important for us to be as calm as possible. I think even to make notes for yourself, if my child asks me, where do babies come from? How am I going to answer it? What words am I going to use? And to practice it in the middle, in the mirror, and have those conversations with yourself and see how you feel. Because the more we do that, the more comfortable we feel saying it out loud to our kids. And I think often the first conversation's the hardest. Once we've had those first conversations, especially if it's casual, they become a little bit easier, but it's always that first step. And so the younger our kids are, that we start having these conversations, the easier it becomes. When you wait until your child is 12 or 13, they've already been exposed to so much that the questions are way beyond anything you're pitching it at. And, you know, they're not as naive and innocent as we'd like to believe they are, unfortunately.
Well, Haiti, do you think that my thinking, do you think that parents are a bit worried about starting the conversation? And in your mind, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not exposing my children to the world of sex by starting the conversations with them. Do
Hmm.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think, well, I think parents need to hear the statistics. They need to understand pornography in particular, and pornography in South Africa is quite a crisis at the moment. 80% of our grade threes, 80% of our grade threes, our 9-year-olds, have already been exposed to hardcore pornography by the age of 9.
Jeez.
So if we are delaying having these conversations, what are they seeing? How are they understanding what they're seeing? And what are they doing to process the information and their body's response, their brain's response to what they're seeing? So if I'm waiting till a child is 12, 13, I'm probably 4 years too late, if not 5 years
Wow.
too late, for them having been exposed to sexual content that nobody's explained to them. The highest rate of abuse right now in South Africa is child on child. It's increasing at a rapid rate, and it's
Child
driven
on
by
child.
exposure to child on child, driven by exposure to pornography. And often our kids don't know what they've seen. They've seen the stuff, they're acting out what they've seen, and they don't know what they're actually doing. And then suddenly somebody 3, 4 years later down the line tells them, actually, what you were doing there was sex. And they feel guilty, they feel shame, they feel all of these kinds of things because nobody ever had a conversation around what is okay, what is not okay. I'm
Hey, wait,
seeing your
hang on a
reaction.
Yeah, she can say, but I wear my heart on my face. Wait,
Yeah.
hang on. So you're saying to me that sometimes children are engaging in certain behaviors that they themselves do not know this is sex
Yeah.
because nobody has explained to them that
Yeah.
this is sex.
Yeah. So we're being very scared. We don't want to trigger curiosity. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. But the world our kids are living in already exposes them. Look at the billboards they drive past. You know, how many very scantily clad women are sitting on our billboards and things like that. So the billboards they drive past, the music videos, and then even on their gaming platforms like Roblox has sex rooms in it. Now, Roblox is supposed to be a child-only game, but there are sex rooms in it. So they are being exposed to anime pornography, anime sex acts, all of these kinds of things. And
My
many of
goodness.
us as parents are oblivious to what they're being exposed to. And so in trying to maintain their innocence, we actually put them at higher risk. And we put them at risk of becoming perpetrators themselves, because they don't know what is going on. They're just seeing the stuff and acting it out because that's what kids do in their play. They play what they live, they play what they see. So if they're being exposed to the stuff and don't know what it is and don't know how to process how they're feeling about it, it can drive addiction, it can drive unhealthy sexual behavior, it can drive so many factors that influence them for the rest of their lives. And I often say to parents, be the first one to open the file. Not only that, have the constant conversations, because if you don't, somebody else will. And we don't know what the long-term implications of those conversations, that exposure is. So we rather want to start those conversations early so that our kids can say to us, you know what, mom, you know what, dad, this is what I saw today. I clicked on this thing and these pictures came up or this video came up. They need to be able to be comfortable enough to talk to us about that. You know, as a parent, we don't really want to think of our children as sexual beings, but God created them that way. You know, right in the beginning, God created male and female, you know, in God's image. There's already identity, there's all of that that's been built into it. And so, why do we want to pretend when you have genitals when you're born, you are not a sexual being? If you weren't a sexual being, those parts of the body wouldn't be there. And so we need to acknowledge that and recognize that that
Yeah.
is given by God. So why are we so
Mm,
afraid to talk about it? Why are we so afraid to talk about it as something positive in a good, long-term committed relationship? But we're not
mm,
setting those boundaries of this is something that's for adults. You know, this is something that should be done with serious consideration and thought, with understanding of the implications. You know, are we talking
yeah.
to children around birth control? Are we talking to children around puberty? Are we talking to children about STDs? Yeah, a lot of people I think ask about puberty in the schools, but most parents are not having these conversations. So who is going to have these conversations?
Haley,
The
I have to
schools.
be honest with you. I am not having the conversation.
Yeah. And it's hard to have those conversations in the beginning, but the kids will ask questions. Listen to the questions they ask. So it'll be, how did that happen? What's happening there? Or if we're watching a TV program, I mean, goodness, if you watch even the kids' TV programs, highly sexualized. You know,
They're
everybody's got a boyfriend
kissing.
and girlfriend and kissing and carrying on. So we can talk about, when you see that, how do you feel? What do you think they're doing? Do you think this is a normal relationship? We can talk about respectful relationships into what we're seeing modeled around. So, sexual education or sexuality education is not just about the act of sex. It's about our values
Mm,
around sexuality, identity, recognizing us as created in God's image. All of those kinds of things become part of your sexuality education. The physical act is not the be all and end all of the conversation. You know, that God made your body so miraculously that you can, through sex, create a baby. But are we
mm.
having those conversations? We're saying to our kids, you know, don't have sex because you're going to fall pregnant. Is having a baby a bad thing? No, it's not. But it may be a bad thing outside of marriage. It may be a bad
And
thing
it's
when
not
we
the
are
right
12
time.
years old, you know. So it's rather talk about healthy relationships, healthy consent, all of that kind of stuff, instead of waiting for the bad stuff, or only speaking badly about sex. I also don't encourage parents to talk only purity. 1 in 3 kids in our country are sexually abused. How dare I talk about purity as the ultimate goal when those kids have not had the choice to remain pure? When rape is the norm, I leave them with a huge amount of shame and guilt, and they didn't have the choice in that.
But hang on, Haley, on that. I hear
Mhm.
you. I do. Because I also used to fall into the trap of, where you just I used to emphasize a lot on purity. I still do, however, with more empathy, because there
Yeah,
are people who didn't have a choice. They
yeah,
didn't even have a chance. So I hear that.
yeah.
However, I believe that if I'm talking to my child about these kinds of conversation, I can't talk about purity,
Mm.
especially when I'm starting early. However, it's important to note that even in those conversations, I don't know how that can be done because I haven't had these kinds of conversations just yet.
Yeah,
My son is 10, 9.5. My
yeah,
daughter is 7. There are a lot of questions already. We know
yeah,
that. But I think that if you're talking to your child and if you start early, you can't put in the issue of purity because I want my children to engage in sexual activity in marriage. That's what I did by the grace of God. Before I used to feel like a star until I realized, no, Barney, there are people who got raped. How about that?
yeah,
What should they do? Should they jump into the ocean and die? I
yeah.
get that. But I think it's also important in this day and age to still emphasize that. I know a child. Okay, so I want to give you an example. Haley, how do I deal with this? I know a teenager who eventually I realized she was raped. Okay. Oh, there's a question for you, Haley. We'll come to it.
Mhm.
But she's on birth control.
So a lot of teenagers are placed on birth control by the parents or by their own choice in case. You
By
know,
the
when you
yes.
look at the statistics, let's think about it. 1 in 3 kids in our country, 1 in 3 under the age of 18, are victims of sexual abuse. Their biggest fear is falling pregnant. Their biggest fear is falling pregnant. Yet our kids know that this is their reality. When I deal with parents who tell me, well, my mom was raped, I was raped, so I've kind of set my kids up to expect it, then birth control is a natural choice because I
Mm,
don't want to fall pregnant when I haven't had the choice around it.
mm,
So it's not always that they're choosing to be sexually active. Sometimes they're being proactive, and then some kids are on birth control for their skin, to stabilize hormones, and for a whole lot of different reasons. So I think we've got to be very careful not to jump to conclusions. Yes,
I hear
teenagers, a
you.
lot of teenagers are sexually active. And a
Mm,
lot of our teenagers who are sexually active have often had traumatic sexual experiences at a young age. So
yes.
they are potentially victims from long before they even knew.
Right.
Or we've groomed them because we've taught them to do whatever they've been told to do, to be the compliant person, to listen to the adults, to
Mm,
do, for women to be subservient to kind of, they are there for the men's purpose. So what are we
mm,
teaching in our culture and in our conversations that
mm,
create space? If we
mm,
teach our kids from a young age that they have autonomy, that they get to decide from their head to their toes what goes in their body, whether somebody can touch them, come into their space or not, they're far more likely to make those choices and be more assertive with it. But
mm,
if we don't give them those choices, they learn that they can't say no. They learn that their body doesn't
mm.
belong to them, and they
Belong
start
to
to
them.
disassociate from being able to make those purity choices. So it's
Mm,
about changing the value system to my body is a temple and sex is a gift, and sex is an extremely intimate gift that I can share with my spouse one day.
mm.
And those are the conversations we need to be having. But without shame
Having.
and guilt, we're going to be judged or all of that kind of stuff
Mm,
in terms of other people. So I'm
mm.
looking at that question. Do you want me to answer it?
Yes, because before you do that, I think there's a follow-on onto that. So this is how do I approach discussing sex with children from the biblical perspective? Thank God Haley used to be a children's pastor, so she's the right person for this. Eh? Whereas the school system is introducing these topics to kids at a young age and around topics that might contradict our beliefs as parents. Hang on. And this person also says the school system in Canada is adamant about having these discussions as part of the curriculum. They open them up to topics that sometimes might not be age appropriate. So, how do we deal with this, Haley?
So I'm going to challenge parents a little bit here because I've seen the CSC curriculum. You'll know that I sat on the project for developing the life skills textbooks for South Africa, where CSC was part of that. And so I've looked at the whole UNICEF guidelines and things like that in terms of it. And a lot of parents are saying, oh, it's not age appropriate. But if you go through the curriculum guidelines, actually, my experience of work on the ground in the schools with the kids, where the kids are asking me questions without me even opening up the space for those questions, the topics are actually age relevant because that's what our kids are being exposed to. That's what our kids are asking. So there aren't my experience of those guidelines in the curriculum. There are none of those questions there that I haven't been asked by children before the curriculum was introduced. So
Mm,
there's no surprises there for me. So when I sat with the South African Department of Education and try to understand why they were doing what they were doing, why they were putting that content into the curriculum, the content was coming out of the stuff that a vast majority of children are actually asking on the playground or are asking of teachers in the classrooms. They're not asking their parents because they don't feel comfortable having those conversations with parents. Uh, I would guess, and here we start treading on dangerous ground. There's, the conversations that contradict our belief system. That would be sex before marriage, masturbation, homosexuality,
mm,
gender identity, all of those
yeah.
conversations.
Mm,
If you, as the parent, are opening the conversations early and opening the file on these conversations, I always say if you're the one to have the first conversation, you set the value base with which the rest of the conversations will be had. If somebody else has that conversation first, the kids will measure what you say against what the other person has already said. And this is
mm,
why I encourage parents to be having these conversations in the home. Our kids are growing up in a very, very different space. Our kids are having conversations, and it doesn't even relate. I mean, my kids are homeschooled, where they haven't been exposed to the school
yeah.
sexuality education curriculum, but they've picked up stuff through friends, through conversations, through lived experience, all of that
Mm,
kind of stuff, where they are asking far deeper questions than I would even have thought about in my 20s. And
wow.
they are from 12, 13, 14. They've asked
Mm,
questions which have kind of caught me off guard at times, but I'm so grateful that they can ask those questions and engage with it. And they engage with it on their own faith basis. When our
right.
kids are little, we can set that foundation. But really, honestly, by the time they're between the ages of 7 and 12, they start figuring it out for themselves. They start deciding what they
Mm,
want to believe in. And so
mm,
we've got the space to set those foundations early. And so we can talk about our body as a gift from God, a temple from God, how we need to protect it as best we can. Our job as a family is to help each other protect it, all of those things. However, when they get to 12, 13, they're making those decisions for themselves. It's
right.
too late to only start the conversations then because the value base is already there and they've probably heard other people's kind of view on these things and formed an
Right.
opinion. So as much as parents are scared of having these conversations, ask the questions. We are exposed to all of these things online. These kids are seeing this stuff online, and any parent who tells me their kids are not online is lying to themselves, because they are with friends who may have phones and things like that. I
Right.
don't know any kids under the age of 7 or 8 who will tell me that they are never on the internet and never being exposed to
Absolutely.
stuff. My last groups of grade threes I worked with, almost every single child put up their hands in the class when I did an example about uh, it was, do you feel safe, unsafe, fun to feel scared, or risky on purpose? A protective behaviors example. And the question I asked is if somebody asked you to take a photo of you. Now, remember, these are grade threes, 9-year-olds. And the question I got asked is, what kind of photo? So then
Hmm.
I laughed and I said, what do you mean, what kind of photo? How many types of photos are there? Knowing exactly what they're about to say to me. And then they say to me, no, Auntie Haley, a photo where my clothes are on or a photo where my clothes aren't on. And I said to them, okay, well, let's break down the two scenarios. Somebody you know when your clothes are on, somebody you don't know when your clothes are on, somebody you know when your clothes are off, and somebody you don't know when your clothes are off. And for them, this was normal to ask this question and to engage with it. So, what are we saying at home? Where are we putting those values at home if this is an entire group of 9-year-olds? So, 65 kids in the group. So then I said to him, how many of you have ever been asked for photos with no clothes on? At least 80% put up their
My
hands and said,
God,
"I've."
have mercy.
So they've either been sent images online or they've been asked for images online.
Haley, you
So
know what?
what are we doing?
At this rate, Haley, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to do like a proper. mm, Haley, I'm gonna have to do a proper like a master class with you. And I think I'm gonna just ask people, this would be proper. Like,
Yeah,
I think as parents we now need to invest our monies and our time to really learn and understand how to do this. Because
yeah,
what you're saying to us is, don't put your head in the sand.
yeah,
These things are real.
yeah.
They are happening. And the earlier we start talking with our children, the better it will be for us. The earlier we begin to invite the values that we want, the better it will be for us. That's what I'm
Not only
hearing.
for us, but for our kids. They won't be as confused. You know,
Right.
I think so many of them are trying to navigate this stuff and trying to understand their own body's reactions to things that are happening to them or that they're seeing, and they
Yeah.
don't know what to do with it. They really don't. We deal with kids who are severely traumatized
Wow.
by content they've seen, they've been exposed to, and they don't feel they can talk to anyone about it because you don't talk about private parts, you don't talk
Mm,
about sex, you don't even
mm.
talk about kissing, with little
It's like we
children.
don't talk about Bruno, no, no. You know that song on the
Yeah,
canto.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So where do they go with this? When they've got questions, when they are confused, when their body's reacting to stuff, where do they go? They then start Googling, and that's even more dangerous. I can remember working with a group of teenagers, a good, 7 years ago, and we were talking about also sexuality and looking at all of this kind of thing. And I asked them we spoke a little bit about pornography then already, and it came up, and the girls were just as, using pornography as much as the guys. And then I started to ask them the question of why are you looking at pornography? And for the girls, for most of them, it was so that because we want to understand how sex works, we want to learn about what guys want and how to do this stuff. Now, pornography is not a healthy space. So we have unhealthy sexual behavior coming out because the kids are using pornography as their education tool. And then they're getting hooked on it and ending up with all sorts of other complications that come out of that in relationships and so on. And most pornography is designed to be degrading, and particularly degrading to women. And we're just going to see a vicious spiral of bad sexual behavior and poor sexual relationships in marriages because we are too scared to have the tough conversations.
Mm. Wow, Haley. Definitely 30 minutes is not enough. I see our second guest is in the studio. 30
Perfect.
minutes cannot be enough for this very important conversation. And you know what I love about you, Haley Walker, is the fact that every time we talk about this, I learn something else. I open my eyes in shock all the time, Haley. But I think
Yeah.
you always help me see, Bola, look, this is a reality. These are the things that you need to then be aware of. And as a parent, you need to be doing. So I think I'm making a an outward, like vow that we
Yeah.
do need to get you on, Ellie. And now this would have to be like a closed door master class. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
even ask people, we've got to pay for these things because I think it's time that we invest where it matters the most, where the values we want to put in our children, we learn
Yeah.
how to put in these skills as early as possible. Like MJ said yesterday, little and often, but today I'm hearing as early as
Yeah.
possible. Haley, thank you. Thank you
It's a
so
pleasure. Thanks for
much.
inviting me.
You are such a gem. You want to give us the last a closing remark before we.
I think my one closing remark is, as parents, don't get overwhelmed and don't get petrified and then try and bubble wrap your kids. You have not been given a spirit of fear, so we've got to, as parents, take courage in the fact that God goes before us. And we have asked God to be there with our kids. And we've got to trust that. We've got to have faith in that. But God also gives us an instruction to walk with our kids, to talk about these things every day, not only scripture, but life in general. So use the everyday moments. Use that time in the car. Use the time when you're waiting for other things to happen. Take those little stolen minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes and work on the values that you can build into your kids, because that's where it happens. Time with your kids, building them up, building their self-esteem so that they don't go looking for that attention in other places. And then just use those everyday moments. Use the time you've got where they're a captive audience, like the
Right.
car. They can't run
Right.
away. They can't swim out of their car seats and things, and have conversations and ask them, what they spoke about on the playground. What did
Right.
they see? And find out from them what's going on in their little worlds. And when you're watching TV with them, ask them how they feel about what they're seeing,
Mm.
and then take the conversation from there. But don't be afraid. We've got
Mm.
stuff we can do. There is stuff we can do. And these kids were brought into this world for a reason at this
Mm.
time.
Mm.
And so we need
True.
to equip them for the time they're living in, because
Absolutely.
God has a plan and a purpose for them.
Mm. Haley, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us so much to think about. And I feel encouraged. I'm actually leaving this conversation encouraged that I can go further. I can go higher. I don't need to be afraid. So we'll see you again. And this time we're going to invite you for a proper masterclass over time where you will actually have the opportunity to teach parents who are ready to invest,
Yeah.
in how to do this properly and practically with our kids. Thank you, Haley. And
Super.
we
Thank
shall see
you.
you again. Take care.
Okay.
God
Go
bless
well.
you.
Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks, Haley.
Cheers.
Bye bye. Wow, parents, how was that? That's like a lot to think about, isn't it? um, Today, start as early as you can. Don't be afraid. You can do this. Amazing. Thank you so much, Haley. Okay, we're going to go into another. You remember today is three. We've got three speakers. We've got Haley Walker just left, and we've got Dr. Ojaro Mokudu. She's going to be speaking to us about something a bit softer, but I think it's very important that moms and dads and that generally you are aware of what we're about to do. So, Auntie, you are welcome. Welcome to Family Life Summit. Woo! I'm loving your background. Hey, wow. Hi,
Yeah.
Auntie.
Hi, Bolanle,
How are you?
and everyone out there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Did you
Thanks
enjoy
for the
that? What did you
invite.
think of Haley, of
Yo,
that session?
that was
Auntie.
hectic, eh? It's but real talk. I think it's good food for thought. Um, Even though with adult kids, I guess you would still need to go through these type of conversations at some point. Unfortunately, they already have a mindset like she
Mm,
was saying.
mm.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's hectic.
It is. No, it is. It is.
Hectic, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So we are going to talk about what are we talking about? I call her Auntie, but this is Dr. Tinu, um, Dr. Judith Tinu Ojo Aromokudu. That's her name. That's her official name. Let me see how she has introduced herself on. Okay, Judith Ojo Aromokudu. You see. All right. So on this one,
Yeah.
Dr. Judith, we are going to be talking about, I think it's something important around just how we keep our homes.
Mm.
Um, and my suspicion is that many parents, just like Haley was talking about, the whole thing about having tough conversations at sex and all of that with your children. I feel like a lot of us, there are conversations that we're having in our heads, but we're not speaking about them. And for a lot of people, that even becomes a source of stress. They're not sure how to work this out. How is this going to feel? What should I do? How do I put my home together? So, Dr. Judith, I'd like you to just introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself and what you would like to say to us, family. Let's
Yeah,
go.
but anyway, Thanks for this opportunity. I mean, it sounds so strange hearing you say Dr. Judith, because I know it's like Auntie Tinu, you know. But indeed, I am Dr. Judith Tinu Ojoarumo Kudu. I'm married to Babatunde Ojoarumo Kudu. I've got three beautiful children. I'm blessed. I mean, I look back and I think my journey in life has been a blessed one. Um, I have what I need, and God has always been present to see me through and guide me along the way.
Mm,
Whatever ups and downs, there are ways of getting through them. I trained as an architect. I'm more in academia. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a wife, a colleague, a teacher in Sunday school. I don't know. I just seem to have to be so busy in different ways, but all to the glory of God. I think at the end of the day, whatever we do should be to the glory of God.
mm.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. And today I was thinking about the different hats that women wear. If you know how many hats I've worn today, just today, thinking about it, I'm exhausted myself, to be honest. And I feel like there are many women who do get overwhelmed. For example, our last speaker, Haley, she's a very good friend of mine. She's been chairman of Protective Behavior South Africa. She's been a children's pastor. She's a trainer. She's a mom. I mean, there's so many. And sometimes, like you always say to me, we don't sit down to just reflect on the many things that we're doing. And so, as a mom, I feel like sometimes our homes can actually become all over the place
Yeah.
because we're kind of not organized. I can't even describe my day today.
Mm.
It's not been organized. Things have been done, so many things. It's been a full day for me. But, Auntie, how do you encourage women, moms, dads? And because it's not a mom's thing, it's a parent's thing. How do we create that safe space and that functional space and that happy space,
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I think whatever is within you bubbles out and it bubbles out into your space. And at the same time, whatever is around you pushes in, it gets into your space. So definitely there needs to be a balance between who you are and especially as the mother in the home, how you balance and keep the tone of the house right.
Mm,
It's really the grace of God. I don't know how else to put it, but it comes from within. It has to start from within. If you're not happy within as the mom in the house, generally it will spill over into what is going on within the house. So I give kudos to all those moms out there who wear different hats with young children, um, loving husband, wonderful neighbors, a full time job, active in the church, working in the community. I mean, it's just so much. And at the same time, you have to hold it all together,
mm,
So you really, I think I couldn't do that. I must say, I have to compartmentalize all that I do so that one thing takes focus. And we can put it to a big point of trusting in God to direct you on what you need to do at the right time,
mm.
so that you do what you need to do when you're supposed to do it.
Right.
Everything is important, but they may all not be important at the same time,
Mm,
and then in doing that, you should be able to hold it all together. Because the Bible says, what is it to gain the whole world and lose your soul?
absolutely.
And we're running up and down in the context of the home. We're busy chasing careers, chasing life out there, but our homes are not a place that are welcoming, or you yourself, you don't even want to go home because it's like, oh gosh, you know, that shouldn't be. We need to create those safe spaces for our family, for our children. The children, yes, they may look like they're little, but they do grow up and they do go. And then what? So we need to create those safe spaces where we can have conversations like Haley was talking about, where they can just feel safe. They can
Mm,
just feel refreshed. Um, it's interesting we talk about this now because we do have what is the home, what is actually home, and if we look at what the Bible says, home is home is where you should be. You should find that first love. You should be able to run to. You should be able to say, you should be able to. I use it intentional, should be able to. But when we create our home environments and they are not welcoming, um, you yourself, you're not happy to take your friends home, not to talk of your spouse or your children, because it's just a mess. That
mm.
shouldn't be the case.
So, what are practical ways? And I hear you on that. There are days when, so I've got a rule. One of my rules at home is we must never leave home and everywhere is scattered. I say to the family, because now you never know, somebody now needs to come home with you guys. And then you start packing, oh, sorry about the mess. Like, I hate that sorry about the
Yes.
mess thing. I think
Yeah.
it's just not on. So
Yeah.
I've got that rule and it's in my head. I'm like, leave the home clean so that when I also walk in, I don't want to walk in into a mess. I want to mentally, once I walk into my home, I want to actually be able to distress and not my stress level just escalates because the mug is open, the milk is there, and I can't. But that's just me. That's one of my own rules. One of the things that I do, and I say to my
Mm,
children, please clear up. And I try my best to also make sure I clear up. Another rule I have is when you wake up in the morning, lay your bed. I watched a video. One man was talking about the first task of the day. Just lay your bed. You've achieved something. Lay it,
mm,
and somehow it just brings semblance of peace into the home. So
mm.
tell me, Auntie, what are some of those practical things that you think that as moms and as dads we can do to ensure that the atmosphere in our homes are, you know,
I like that question, and I laugh because it can be interpreted in so many different ways, right?
okay.
You could, what is home? What makes you feel when you're going home? What do you really think of? When you say, oh, I'm
Rest,
going,
chill.
you think of rest, you think of refreshment, you think of food, good food, you think of, those kind of things that make you want to go home. You think of a clean environment, and really not just for those who may come and visit you, but for yourself. You should be able to keep your house tidy for yourself, so that it refreshes you. It gives you that safe environment that you are comfortable in. you know so what are the practical ways of doing it? It depends on your home. It depends, I think, also on your stage of life. um but I think a family, everyone should have chores, they should have their responsibilities.
Chores.
um I think children should be able to learn from an early stage. You don't just leave your things, food, you eat food, you get up, you don't even take your plate to the kitchen. It's left on the floor or on the table or on the chair.
Yeah.
Why? That shouldn't be done, right? And then even when children play games, I know, I mean, my children were born, I've mentioned I washed nappies for 5 years continuously. Yes, we did wash nappies those days. We didn't have pull-ups and what do they call them? Snap-ons. We wash
Mm.
nappies. So they're quite close. And you can imagine having three children or even more, and your whole house is like a playground. Why? Keep it in a corner. Let everybody know this is where this happens, that is where that happens. Um, just in saying that, well, we're approaching the stage of being empty nesters now, and my we've got two puppies, and interestingly, they run all over the place. Like, guys, no, 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 no. You don't run all over. You don't jump on the chair. You don't do this. And there are rules. So once people and children, especially, once they know the rules, believe it or not, they will abide by them. Is
Mm.
when there are no rules, children, they push
They run
boundaries.
amok.
Yeah, they is like, mom is joking. No, mom is not joking. You don't do this. You don't jump around. You don't. And being careful not to hamper on that negative term. I heard a teaching some time back that children's world is very negative. The first word they
Mm.
hear is no.
No.
No, do you know, no, don't stop. Is always negative. And so you don't want to just create that negative environment for children, but create an environment where they know this is what I can do. I can play here. I can have
Mm.
internet time for this long. Friday
Mm.
evening is snack evening. We don't eat cooked food, we eat leftovers, and then everybody
Mm.
kind of has the idea of what is expected of them as a member
Right.
of this family. I remember saying to my children those days, is like, so what's your name? Right? Say, but what's your name? We have to know that here, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and they will abide by it.
So it's about having boundaries, a bit clear about your boundaries. Don't just, and I think that's important. Even I, as an adult, I remember my dad's rules. If you're going out, tell somebody where you're going. Till
Mhm.
today, wherever I'm going, I tell whoever is at home, I'm going here and there.
Yeah,
If I'm leaving a place, hey babes, I'm leaving so, I'm on my way. Where are you? World of go. Like
yeah,
those are things that I grew up with, and somehow they stayed part of my life where you just have those rules.
yeah.
When
The
you're
rule.
going out late, when you're going to be late, you call. Listen, I'm going to be late. So my dad's rule was so people are not worried about you. They just know where you are.
Yeah.
Finish.
As simple as that, yes. I mean, it's
Mm,
so bad now. I don't know whether it's bad or it's good, but you can actually, there are apps that you can use to monitor where maybe it's a good thing,
really.
the apps you can use to monitor
And
where,
to just say it. People should just say this is where I am because those things just create
you
you
know,
sort of relaxed mind,
yeah.
mind wise, you're chilled, you're relaxed. You
Yeah.
know that
I
it's
mean,
well.
I used to find it so, so, so disturbing when I walk through the airport and I see children with leashes on them and their parents are pulling them. Like, what? Why? Can't the child understand? Because at a point, you're going to have to release that leash and it has to be an invisible one. You know, there
Mm,
has to be that invisible, which is probably what you've described. You just say
mm,
it. You just say, I'm going, I'm coming, I'll be late. Oh, I wouldn't come back this evening. I'm staying at a friend, or if they're at that age of staying over at friends. It's as simple as that. But it comes from creating that home environment, that safe home
mm,
environment that is not just welcoming, but also is a safe haven, is a place of being one. And even if I've done something wrong, I am saying it in a safe place. I know I'll get beaten. I mean, my apologies if that sounds offensive to anyone, but
let the Lord
you,
spoil the child.
yeah, I apologize. But there are some things. I mean, we grew up with the cane, and the cane was, you don't want it. Nobody wants to cane you, but
Yeah.
So don't go there. I think as the more I reflect on it, it's a thing of don't go there.
Mm,
Don't even think about it. And
mm,
even walking through some of these things, why will God have hellfire? Why would that be there? It's a case of don't go there. I don't want you to go there. So that cane is sort of a a reminder, like, don't go there.
yeah.
It's harsh when you get there,
Mm,
and of course this must be done in love. It's not a means of um frustration. Parents must not, I emphasize, must not use that um, the rod to release their frustrations on
on
children.
children. I
It's
agree with
it's
you on that.
that's that amounts to abuse.
It
But it's
is.
a case of I don't even want to use it, so don't make me use it. you know. So by the time I say, you are trying me,
I know parents that just bring it out and they just
that should be enough.
that should be enough, right?
It should be enough. But they will never understand until there has been one
I like what
one
Maya is saying here.
one implementation plan in place.
Implementation. The kid was used to set boundaries back then, but by our parents and teachers, but we've learned to use words to establish those boundaries. Exactly. So it's
Yes.
like, don't make me do things. Just
Don't
put
you
it there.
don't you don't even want to. You don't
Mm,
want to.
that's not where I want to
Of
go.
course, nobody enjoyed it.
Mm,
Nobody enjoyed getting the rod at the
mm,
time. And even then, I remember my dad would reluctantly. It's a painful thing,
yeah.
but if it's necessary, at least those days, it was like you are playing, eh?
Mm,
You
mm,
know. And
mm,
now we can just say,
mm,
guys, this is what I'm saying. Hear me and
absolutely.
don't let me go there.
Don't let me go there.
Don't let me
Wow.
go there. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I
No.
think and those things are done in the home.
Mm,
Once we set those good boundaries at home, we are able to emphasize them when we go out. You know,
absolutely.
I mean, those days, like, I will tell daddy, I will tell daddy. And that was like enough to calm everybody down. Like,
Everybody will just be calm, like,
yeah,
okay. Even now in my home, I think that my son is just like, please, can you not shout?
you know,
Is
yeah,
daddy not here? you know. So
yeah, yeah.
I hear you.
So I think the parents, but both the father and the mother, in
Yes,
that wise, have a
yes,
very strong role in keeping the home stable and creating that space where children can come home. I mean, it's so disheartening to hear the statistics Haley was talking about earlier.
absolutely.
Um, it's troubling, and
Yes.
unfortunately, it's the environment we're living in, where there are absent parents, both
Mm,
fathers and mothers in some instances, child-headed homes,
yeah.
and so it becomes more difficult to
Mm,
instill these things. And that's why, personally, I feel the Holy Spirit is available. The Holy Spirit is actually there to calm us, to guide us. I mean, how do
calm.
you answer some of these questions that children are
Mm,
asking these days? Some
mm,
of sex education, I mean, where do we start from? But the
mm.
Holy Spirit is there. The Bible says the Holy Spirit is there to guide us in all things, in how to
Absolutely.
keep the home physically, spiritually, emotionally
Mm,
stable,
mm,
so that we don't regret and we can also enjoy our old age.
mm, mm. Dr. Judith, Auntie, thank you so much. For me, the more we talk about these things, my mind is reeling. I see our next speaker is in the studio, but I hope our camera comes on. But what I'm hearing today, so with Haley, start early with you is set the boundaries. Yay, she's in studio. Set the boundaries. Be clear. and let the Lord just help you create an atmosphere that is relaxed. And you've asked a critical question that I want to ask everybody. When you think about your home, going home, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? So, Dr. Judy, you want to give us a parting remark? And you see, for all the, like, I feel like all the sessions that we've been having on the Family Life Summit, I'm actually going to bring each person in to have like proper time, maybe in master classes or all of that as the weeks go by, because these are things that will help us in our parenting, in the way that we're raising our children. And I'm grateful for all of you who have said yes to this. So, Auntie, parting word for us, what's your thoughts? What's a parting word? Something you'd like to say to us as we round off this segment?
Yeah. I wish I could frame it in a nice way, but I think I would say the joy of the Lord, let it be your strength.
Mm, and the joy of the Lord be.
It
I
will
like
bubble
that.
out. Mm.
Let the joy of the Lord be your strength. I'm going to actually write that down. Let the joy of the Lord be your strength. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Judith. I'm sure when we call you, you're going to come again. I feel like a lot of us, there's so much that we can learn. I already feel calm. I feel like you've calmed me down already. Yes, Valde, isn't that amazing? This is really good. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
Dr. Judith, God bless you. We shall call on you again, and I'm sure you will answer us when we
Yeah.
do. Thank you. God bless you.
All right.
Talk to
Thank
you
you.
again.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Love you. All right, isn't this amazing? Hey, if you're learning stuff, please put it in the chat room. Oh, you see, oh, thank you. So many people are saying thank you, Dr. Judith. Lovely, hey. Please put in the chat box, invite your friends, tell people this is going on. Tomorrow is our final day. I see that Bukola, Mrs. Jolugo, is here. And please welcome this amazing, lovely sugar pumpkin of mine. This is Bukola Jolugo, we call her famously known as Kiki. Kiki, can you hear us? Let's unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, Kiki. Um,
Yes, I
your
can hear you.
Yay, we can hear you live and direct. Yay, you see, that is Kiki. Kiki, Kiki. Kiki,
No,
welcome,
let's come.
welcome,
Let's come.
welcome. So nice to see you here. I'm so delighted. Thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you very much. I'm going to make it dark again because now we're talking boys. That's why we're talking raising boys. Kiki is a boy lover. Imagine married to a man, has two sons, always talking about boys and men because boys are important. So, Bukola Jolugo, famously known as Coach Kiki, you are welcome to Family Life Summit 2022. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Okay, so Kiki, introduce yourself to our audience and let them know a little bit more about you.
Thank you very much, Bolani. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, even though your camera is going on, but that's fine. I'm not even worried. We're just carrying
Yeah,
on, so you can carry on.
thank
Yes.
you. I don't know, I've been battling with the connection for the past couple of minutes, but yeah, thank God I'm here. Thank God it's
Yeah,
connected to this extent.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. As you said, my name is Kola Jerobo. I love to be called Kiki. And so Kiki is a book. So yes, I am a mama voice,
Kiki, one
mama for
second.
on.
Kiki, one second. I Can I remove you and then you come back in? Let's see how. Let me see. I'm trying to see. Just hang on a second. Okay, no, it looks good. Okay, let's carry on. Speak. Go on.
Awesome. Awesome. I think it's better now.
It is.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Bolanle. It's so amazing to be here. And like you said, my name is Bola Jeru, and I love to be called Kiki instead of Kiki. So yeah, I am a mama voice. I love boys, and by the grace of God, I run an organization called Joshua, where we raise boys who are enlightened, developed, and focused. Boys who will work class men, leaders, husbands, and fathers. And our focus also in Joshua's Army is to reconnect and rekindle the relationship between the father and the male child, particularly when they begin to get to those teenage age, those teenage years. And that's me.
Wow, thanks, Kiki. So Kiki and Kiki, you've got two teenage boys, isn't it? Or are they now young adults?
Yes, yes. Well, they're still teenagers. They still have teens behind their numbers. So
Okay. All right. So Kiki, I think the first question I want to ask you is what is it between boys and their dads that make that relationship a little bit alpha male-ish, if you know what I mean? Sometimes I find that
I
it's
get
a bit
that.
cantankerous. What happens there?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Bolanle. And in fairness, if we look back in the age, right from the days of the Bible, you'd probably see that this was still there. It's been since the days of the Bible. If you look at the life of Prophet Eli and his sons, it got to a point it was just like, you know what, God, do with them whatever you will, because that relationship wasn't in place. If you look at the life of King David as well, there were those issues between him and his sons. And so it's been, from, even I could say, even in the life of Jacob and his sons, in the life of Adam and his boys, I would say, because for me, I feel that's one of the reasons why the two boys were the way they were and all of those dramas happened between them. So what is this thing between the fathers and the sons? Leaving the Bible age now and coming down towards our own age, a lot of issues, a lot of things happen between fathers and sons. And from research that I've conducted, now in my 9 to 5, I am a user analyst, and I conduct research with people. And, one of the things that is been salient that keeps coming up amongst fathers and sons is a lot of fathers look at their own life and they want to replay the video, replay the movie with their sons, in their son's life. And so, because of this, as a father, I don't want my son to make the mistakes I have made, but
Mm,
I don't know how to correct my mistakes. And so they're trying to correct these mistakes in the lives of their sons, their own mistakes. And here is this son who is a teenage boy who is beginning to identify himself as a human being, as a man himself, and thinking, I am not that.
mm,
I have my own issues. And before you know it, there begins to be clashes
mm,
because the father is seeing himself in the boy,
mm.
and the boy is trying to see himself in himself.
Say that again. The father is seeing himself
Himself in the
in the
boy,
boy.
and the boy is seeing himself in himself. And so before you know it, there will be those clashes because the boy is finding himself, but the father is trying to find himself as well in the boy. Now, follow me. So, the dad probably lost himself at some point.
Mm,
So, he's trying to find himself in the son.
mm,
And as a result, there is every tendency that the boy will lose himself. So
Wow.
when he becomes a man and a father, he would in turn try to find himself in this son. And before you know it, it becomes a circle or a cycle. And will be wondering what is causing all these issues. And again, I say a lot of the times, 80% of the times, it's not the father's fault. It's not the man's fault. It's not the fault of the man who is trying to find himself.
Hmm.
Like we've been saying, it because somebody else tried to find himself in him. Does that make sense? And then it
It
keeps
does.
going and going and going. And
It's a vicious
and
cycle.
because the cycle keeps the cycle keeps going, it becomes we keep having generations and generations of broken people trying to fix people who are not broken. And I
Wow.
am not broken.
Kiki, no,
I
say that
know how
again. Say that again.
it becomes a vicious cycle, generational thing of broken people trying to fix people who are not broken. And if you are
Wow.
broken, trying to fix somebody who is not broken, what happens? Your brokenness is transferred to this person. And this
Absolutely.
person is fighting back to say, I am whole. I want to be whole. I'm whole. Do you understand? And then there are these clashes back and forth.
Wow.
And then, unfortunately, a lot of us mothers do not understand this. And because we do not understand it, we begin to fight this person that we think should be whole.
Hmm.
So I I see him who is not whole, who is trying to find himself in his son, and I think he's breaking my son. And instead of raising and training my son, I am fighting him.
Wow.
And the boy is looking at you and wondering, what is wrong? I need help. But there is no one to help him. And then before you know it, the boy grows up and doesn't want that mom was doing in he doesn't want that with his son. And then he's struggling to be a better dad for his son. But because he doesn't have it, the struggles continues and it
Wow.
becomes a continuous cycle. And that's why
Kiki.
you see that a lot of men are struggling with their sons, not because they want to struggle, but because they don't even know themselves. They don't even know what is happening with themselves. But all they know is, I don't want what is happening with me to happen to my son.
Wow. Kiki, I promise you, you just shattered my table. I'm telling you. And I'm not
We need
saying
to have
that I
dinner,
was.
Debolale. We need to have dinner, so let's keep the table intact.
I need to come to the UK. I need to see you, Kicks. Wow, this is a job, but it makes sense. I've never. My goodness, this is why we all need each other. I'm telling you, they say it takes a village to raise a child. But I began to say that it takes a village to
Mm,
raise a parent. Many parents, we think that by
absolutely.
the time we become parents, we should know it. And because we don't know it, we're struggling with ourselves. We're using our brokenness on our children. We're not tracing and healing. So this vicious cycle just continues. Like, what you've just said is so mind blowing. You can see I'm literally wanting to jump out of my seat because the broken man is trying to fix an unbroken boy who you would eventually break, who
Mm.
also will not understand himself, and then we carry on with this evil. Because I've always wondered, why does this happen? Because moms, you get caught in that cycle. You don't even know what to do. You're like, okay, what is happening around me? And then they're like, oh, you're just a woman. You don't know what boys are going through. Okay, the people that should know what boys are going through also don't know what's going on in their own lives. So,
Exactly.
and so we've now left the children, especially the boys, to themselves. And I always worry about boys because there's a lot of talk around girl child, which is
Mm.
beautiful. It's amazing. But you fix the girl child, you give her all the opportunities, and then she's connected with this boy who
Who is
just
not
is
fit?
confused.
Yeah.
Okay,
I,
so now
I,
we see the issue.
Bolani, you just said something that, I used to struggle with growing up, particularly as a teenage girl, where I don't know if you remember, you sit down, you're getting the question, is that you're going to sit in your husband's house? You eat, is that you're going to eat in your husband's house?
Now you're going
You
to
get
cook in
all
your
of those things
husband's
a
house.
lot. And, and the bits, I am a Christian, but the bits that used to annoy me the most is that's where they tell me a wise woman builds her home. And I remember there was a day an auntie said to me, a wise woman, I can't remember what happened. I think there was an argument between myself and another guy in church as a teenage
Right.
girl. And this respectable lady in church said to me, no, you don't do that. I said, but he did this to me. No, you don't know that you're a woman. You are the one that will accommodate them. A wise woman builds her home. And I looked at her and I said, and your foolish son tears it apart. I think I was about 16, 17. Because I'm like, it takes two. There are two of us here. Why you telling me off? He started it. So you keep telling me the wise woman builds her home. But what are you doing to the boy child? And we get married and we're struggling to build the home. And the other party is not doing anything. It
Absolutely.
got to a point in my marriage, I said to my husband, I said, you know what, man, I am the helpmeet. All of these things are your responsibility. They're not mine. I am to help you meet these responsibilities. Now, let's talk about how we're going to build this home and I will support you because I am the helpmate. And I think that's what we should teach our sons.
Mm,
The
yeah.
woman is not the one who, yes, a wild woman builds her home, but it's you, the man. Now, hypothesis that will bring the bricks, that will bring the cement, that will bring all the materials to build a home.
I hear
And now
you.
I am not talking about those physical things. I'm talking about, all those intangible things, interpersonal skills,
Absolutely.
you know. And that's why it's so paramount to me to teach our boys those skills. And that's one of the reasons why we started the Boys to Men Institute, to be able to teach our boys those skills, emotional intelligence, financial intelligence, personal intelligence. Who are you?
Mm,
Spiritual
mm.
intelligence, social intelligence, for them to be able to identify themselves. And again, maybe I should just be quiet here, people. That a lot of us mothers, this is for you if you're listening.
Mm.
You saw that man before you married him. You loved him. Am I still on?
Yes, you are. It's breaking, but we're on. It's fine. Yeah. So you were saying, are you
Yeah,
there?
you saw that man before you married him.
Mhm.
I know that sometimes things would happen. But I say to women, and I say to my husband, you are my choice. We have the ability to marry every and any brother in church, but you are my choice, just as I am your choice.
Your
And
choice.
so, women, you've chosen your own. Bolale,
Mm,
you've chosen to go with Mr. Enand.
mm,
And I say, marry the man that you have chosen to go with, eh?
mm,
And train your children.
mm.
Marry your husband and train
Train your
your
children.
children. Marry
Wow.
your husband and train your sons.
Hmm.
Somebody else
Marriage.
has trained him. It's fruitless trying to train somebody else's child who is already a grown man. Marry, it's true. Marry that man and that effort, put it in
Mm,
raising your son so
wow.
that, and the person that is coming to marry our sons will not struggle to raise our sons for us.
We'll now have to train our sons who are now the
Yes,
husbands. Hmm.
exactly.
Kiki, this is beautiful. I love this. Now, I want to ask you, you and I, we can go on with this. And I love that marry your, oh my gosh, no, no, no. I must remove that. It is marry your husband and look at me. It's
And
marry
train your
your
son.
husband. Oh, I have to write it properly. Marry your husband and train your son. Yeah, that's the right thing. Mm, okay, that's the right thing. I'll go and remove that online later. But my question to you now is, give me three things, ways that are really specific to boys that moms and dads can use in raising our sons. Like your top three.
My top three.
Mm,
One, unconditional love.
okay.
First, unconditional love. And this unconditional love, I'm talking about between you and your husband, and then for you to your sons, particularly when they get into those teenage years. I know I cut off
Mm,
a bit like apologies, my connection is just acting up.
that's fine.
But can you hear
You
me
know
now?
what? We just keep going. We keep going. Don't worry. We're not worried. We're hearing. Yeah, we
Awesome.
can hear you. So unconditional love between husband and
So
wife.
three things, and from husband and wife to the children, unconditional love. Number two, which a lot of us will make the mistake of doing is, or of not doing, is agreement.
Hmm. Hey,
Agreement. There's
Bolanjo.
power. The Bible says one will chase 1,000, but two will chase how many?
10,000.
Multiples of thousands. Agreement. We must work in agreement. Don't let the children have a glimpse of that you are not together. And that's why I say I am very, very big on what I call co-parenting.
Mm,
I don't want to raise my sons by myself. I want their father to be there, to raise their, irrespective of what might have happened or what can be happening in our relationship. There
mm,
is power in co-parenting. So, unconditional love. Number two, co-parenting. And number three, forgiveness.
Wow.
Forgiveness. Now, when I say forgiveness, I'm not only talking about forgiving what the child does, because the child will cross boundaries. The last week I was about, using the rod and let it change when you get talking about using the rod and all of those things. The child will cross boundaries. They will do some things, particularly when they get into teenage years. And you'll be wondering, who is this child? Am I still on? Yeah. You'll be wondering, who is this child? Where is my child? Forgiveness is key. But again, for us as adults, particularly fathers, we need to be able to reflect on our childhood and forgive childhood. We need, as parents, it's key for us to forgive our childhood, learn from it, and live in the present with our children. A lot of us carry, the heaviness, the baggage, the bitterness, the anger of our childhood into adulthood, and reflecting in the way we raise our children. It's reflecting in the way we deal with our children. And if we do, if we're not careful, not even, no matter how careful you are,
We are having problems um with our speaker's internet, but I'm sure you're hearing what she's saying. Forgive. I mean, the first thing she said was, let me go back to the. So she's talked about co-parenting. She's talked about. Let's go back there. She's talked about co-parenting. She's talked about forgiveness, and she's talked about unconditional love. I hope you're hearing, because these things, they just really have a way of blessing us. So let's go right back to our speaker. All right. Welcome back. Um,
thank you, thank you. I apologize for
it's fine.
yeah,
Please carry
sorry.
on. No
Thank
worries.
you.
Carry on.
So the last one I was talking about, which is very key and most important, is forgiveness. Leave your past, forgive it, forgive anything that is coming from your past. And when we are able to move from that place of unforgiveness or the baggage of our past,
Yeah.
it helps us to, it helps us in reflecting, it helps us in telling ourselves the truth. It helps us in hearing, in hearing, you know, there is there is there is this thing I used to do when my children were young, that I actually told myself something my dad used to do to me when I was young, and I said I would never do to my children. And I found myself doing it. And one day I can't remember how I caught myself, and I went into the room, I wept, and I said, I don't want to do this to my children. It doesn't mean my dad is a bad person. He was an amazing man, and I love him. I would choose him to be my father over and over again. But when I realized that, I prayed and I said it over and over before the mirror, standing in front of the mirror. Dad, I forgive you and I love you. Dad, I forgive you and I love you. Am I still on?
Yes, you are. You are. You're on. Kiki, you're
Hello,
on.
Bolanle?
You're on, Kiki. I
No,
can
this
hear
is
you.
so annoying. This is so annoying.
It's fine.
Am I still
It's
on?
yes, you are. Yes, you're on, Kiki. Okay. I'll remove her for a second. Oh, are you hearing what I'm hearing here? Forgive. Forgive your past. Forgive yourself. And just go forward. Forgive your past. Forgive yourself. Go forward. Go forward. Wow. I'm loving this. Kiki, you're on. We were hearing you, and you were talking to us about how you forgave, how you said, "Look, you know what,
Awesome.
Dad?
Okay.
I
And you know what? Yeah. I said I would stand in front of the mirror.
yeah, we can hear you. Hello, we can hear you, Kiki. Carry on. We can hear you. Oh, the internet today is amazing. But you know, when you do all of these things, you just say to yourself, this is it. A lot of us need to hear the things that we're talking about. And here we are. We're just going to go right on and get this going. Let's add our coach Kiki right back to the screen. Kiki, you're here and you're live and we can
Okay.
hear you.
Awesome.
Carry on, please.
Yeah.
So you were talking
And I
about
said I'll go
forgiveness.
in front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me,
And
Kiki?
I said
Carry on.
I would go in front of the mirror and I would say it over and over and over and over. Now, other than saying it over and over, there's another thing I kept doing. I now started doing. Other than saying it over and over, I now started doing something. I made myself, yeah, I made myself accountable.
Mm, accountability. Right. I got you. Mm. Did you hear that, everyone?
Okay.
Accountability. Okay.
Yeah. So I made myself accountable. Sorry, I thought I'll turn off my video just to see if that would help the bandwidth a bit.
It's kind of helping, so you can carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I made myself accountable. And guess who I made myself accountable to?
Cool.
Children,
Your
my
children.
children. I
Mm.
said to them, I don't like doing this. Mommy doesn't like doing this. So anytime you see me do it, out and I taught them how to correct me
Mm.
because they want to get it right to them. They love you, they want to remain in relationship with you. They will quietly say, "Oh, you said you don't like doing this," and then they correct me. If I didn't forgive my past,
They've been tough, isn't it? Mm. Wow. I feel like Kiki is really touching on some very deep stuff, moms and dads. And what I'm really hearing tonight is on this day two of our Family Life Summit is forgive yourself, forgive your past, forgive whatever it is that has affected you to the point where there's certain things you're doing. And I feel like I've just been set free. Can I explain to you? Sometimes I find myself doing things and I'm like, how did I get here? Are you serious, Bolanli? How did you do that? Why did you do that? See what I'm saying? I think what I'm hearing is forgive yourself, forgive your past, and go forward. If you think to yourself, I can never make anything good out of this, it's over, it's not true. There's always a day you can start again. There's always, always something that you can do to change your present narrative. So, moms and dads, I think that our three speakers tonight, to be honest, have really opened our eyes to a lot of things, opened our minds to thoughts around the things that we should do and what we can do to ensure that our family life is much better. So remember, Haley talks about starting early enough, making sexual conversations part of your family life so that your children are able to just hear you. You see what I'm saying? Um, Auntie Tina talks about having the boundaries clear. Just make them clear. And now Kiki has talked to us about three things: unconditional love between husband and wife and your children, and for your children also. Number two, she's talked about um, let's go there. So she's talked about unconditional love, co-parenting, and she's also talked about forgiveness. I want to really encourage you. You can do this. God has blessed you with a family. Let's see if she's able to come up. Kiki, are you there? I think her internet really did have issues. But I think we've heard what we need to tonight. Go find yourself your accountability partner. Is it your children? She took her children. And you know, children know how to help us, eh? They do. And if it's your children, it's your husband, we would like to encourage you, get going on this. I'd like you, Kiki, if you can, to give us a final word on our way out. Hey, lovely to see you again. It's fine. All right. No, no worries at all. It just tells us that we're going to have a proper master class. I think that's what this is about. It's just going to be a proper invested master class. I'm already thinking about our Wise Academy. This is going to be very, very useful for us. So, Kiki, on your way out, just very briefly, I want you to give us a closing remark. You know, something you want us to take away. I quite like the things that you said tonight. They're resonating with me because I blame myself a lot when I've done things and I feel like, oh my gosh, I could have done better. But what I'm hearing you say is forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive those who've hurt you and go forward. So, what's your closing remark to us as we round off for tonight?
Thank you, Brandy. My closing remark is get rid of any story you don't want to replay in your life and write your story. A lot of people, a lot of us, there are so many dirty and ugly stories out there about men and about the boy child. Are some of these stories true? Maybe, maybe not. But what story is true to you? A lot of those stories are facts,
Mm,
and facts are not necessarily the truth.
mm,
So write your truth, write your story. And if
mm,
you choose to write a beautiful story, the boy child is an amazing child to raise.
mm.
Boys are lovely. Teenage boys are, gosh, sweet. But only when your son becomes a teenager, you will come back and say, how Kiki, you said so. Teenage boys are sweet, but you have to start from the very moment you carry them in your hands. And so my last final word is love your son and write a beautiful story for your son to play. God will help us as we raise armies for God, generals for God, and world-class men, leaders, husbands, and fathers. God
Amen.
bless.
Oh, Kicks, you're such a gift. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. God bless you. And that's it from us tonight. I Isn't that just a lovely way to just end tonight's Family Life edition of Family Life Summit? Today's day 2. Tomorrow is the last day already. It's the last day. And write the story that you want for your family. That is such a gift. Go on your knees tonight. Whenever you watch this, what is the story that you want for your family? You can do it. Go for it. God bless you. Now, tomorrow we're going to have MJ Mary Jane and Guy Alexan. We're going to have Ayo Kiyomi. That is my older brother. He's also going to be talking about building relationships with teenagers. And I've got a joker, and I'm looking forward to one of the authors in my circle, come talk about her book. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's the last day. Now, remember, tomorrow is 7 p.m. GMT plus 2, 7 p.m. South African time. That will be 6 p.m. British time, Nigerian time. It's 8 p.m. Kenyan time. Just calculate for yourself, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here tonight. God bless you. Share, like, and please keep the comments and the questions coming. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I love you. Take care. Remember, your family should be enjoyed and not endured. And as we keep putting in the work, one day we will reap the rewards of all the investments. And don't forget, the society that you and I live in is as strong as its weakest family. Let's strengthen our family base. God bless you and have a lovely, lovely evening. Goodbye. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow. See you.